الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله، يا إمام الرحمة، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين، يا علي بن أبي طالب، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد، يا قرة عين الرسول، يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله. اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي، أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله. اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي، أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباكر يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاذب يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا. يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها النقي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي بن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي الأسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا سادتي وموالي الله إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وأدتي ليوم فقري وحاجاتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله فاشفعوا لي إن الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالمين من الأولين والآخرين آمين 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 يا رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد النبي الطيبين والطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين ونصلي ونسلم على عبد المصطفى الطهر الطاهر المظاهر المنصور المؤيد أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
اللهم بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We begin in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise is due to Allah always. Allah is the one who is worthy of praise. And Allah is the one who knows everything. And Allah is the one who always were and who always will be. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is none like unto him. So, as Holy Quran also says, Allah bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub. Isn't it by the dhikr of Allah hearts become contented? So we praise Allah and we thank Allah for all the blessings in our life, and at the same time we ask Allah, as we are always reciting, Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam wa ilayka ya'udu salam tahayyina rabbuna bisalam adkhilna dar salam. Oh Allah, give us that peace, give us that tranquility, give us that serenity, because it's your essence, and we are created from that essence, from the same, if we can say so, stuff which Allah is, and that we say in inverted commas because Allah is not stuff, Allah is not material, Allah is not physical, but He expresses Himself in this physical world through millions and billions of manifestations and forms, because everything, its origin is Allah, and without Allah there is and cannot be anything. With that being said, as Allah says that Allah is the Creator, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. We would like to say this, and we are honored to be the followers of Ahlul Bayt Salamullah alayhim ajma'in, and especially during this time where we celebrate the victory of the Islamic Revolution. The victory of the Islamic Revolution, and especially, if I can say so, just especially two amongst others, especially two aspects, and that is the awareness of self. It made you aware to become more aware yourself, and also it had another aspect of you, and it made you aware of your surroundings and how you were supposed to live. It was a very liberating message, and it still is. It is an ideology that speaks about the emancipation, the liberation of the self first, to return to self-dignity, self-honor, self-worth, to believe in yourself, to believe in your abilities, to believe that everything is possible, that there is no such thing as impossible. By the way, as we've seen how some people are interpreting impossible as I'm possible, to make the impossible possible, and especially to rely on Allah Azza wa Jal Jalla Jalala. So in this sense, we are saying that the Islamic revolution brought a sense of pride, a sense of self-worth, a sense of believing in yourself. And if there is no internal self-realization, then the external realizations, or it will not manifest in the external life. So internally there need to be a revolution, and that revolution is to break all the chains and shackles that keep you in bondage, that keep you in slavery. And if the mind is not free, if the spirit is not free, you're not speaking about the ruh, if you do not believe that you are free, then that will then become your external reality, where you are not free. So the Islamic revolution brought to us self-realization, so that we depend on our own abilities to make the impossible possible, and to read the word impossible as I'm possible. And it had the other aspect which it was manifested in, and that aspect was that it manifested, that consciousness manifested itself in what? In political freedom, economic freedom. How difficult it might be. But today we are stronger than ever before, as Imam Hussein Salamullah alayhi taught us, that simply because you are a minority does not mean that you should be weak. And that's important. How many personalities of history and masters of history, and Salamullah on all of them, how many of them were just single human beings, a singularity, but they transformed millions in everybody whom they touched and whom they got in contact with. So there was an economic message, there was a political message, there was a social message that we should be together and should be united, and do not look at yourself as you are alone, because you are always with a group, even if you are alone. There is always help. So we are ask Allah Azza wa Jalla Jalala, first and foremost, to allow us that self-realization, to give us liberty, emancipation in the mind first, in our thinking first, but at the same time to have love, to have compassion, to have empathy, to have sympathy, to work with others, to help alleviate the pain of others. And with this, we congratulate Imam Hujjat Qaim Ali Muhammad al-Mahdi, Ajalla Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, for this ni'mah, for this blessing. And may Allah protect all the ulama, whether they are in the Islamic Republic, whether they are in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Egypt, whether they are in Hijaz, and whether they are in Sudan, even here in South Africa, wherever they are around the world, may Allah protect them and guide them and strengthen them with His nur. All those who suffer as we are living even through this time of the pandemic, may Allah alleviate the suffering of hundreds and hundreds of millions of people. May Allah shower His blessings upon them. May Allah instill in them to unleash a wealth of resources, of abilities, of inventions, of thoughts, of potentialities, which we would be in awe, and eventually we usually say, yo, where did that come from? Because there is no lack when it comes to Allah Azza wa Jal. There is no lack. Someone used to say, when Allah cannot give you a stomach and not food to eat, that is not His justice. If Allah created the 9 billion or 8 billion, I think, around about there, don't know the exact figure, but around about 8 billion human beings, at least the 8 billion human beings, then Allah created also the resources to support each one of them. There is no lack, because Allah is, and one of His sifat is He is abundance. He is the one, He is the source. Let us realize that, and may Allah open up the portals, the floods, and may Allah flood His ni'mah and blessings upon this dunya, inshallah. We ask, Allahumma narghabu ilayk fi dawlatin karima, tu'izzu biha al-Islam wa ahla, wa tudhillu biha al-nifaq wa ahla, wa taj'aluna fiha min du'atin ila ta'atik, wa qadatan ila sabilik, wa tarzuquna biha karamat ad-dunya wal akhirah. Wassalam.